few weeks ago, you made a statement by releasing the trailer of your first movie, Aisha, A Long Way to School. And that announced to the world that you're now producing movies. So it was your first step in cinema. And we've seen you in so many different areas, such as writing books and a lot of other areas. Can you tell us, please, what made you go into cinema now?
Well, thank you. I've been writing a lot, and I've noticed, and I know now that people you can reach them more into movies because everybody has a mobile, and it's easier for them to watch movies than to read a book, especially this generation. Most of the younger people, they don't read as much anymore, and cinema gives us a space, a huge space to beyond our countries, actually, beyond our continent. You can create a movie and the world can have access to it and can see the reality and the message you're trying to propel from wherever they are in the world. It happened to me growing up in Senegal. I've watched movies from India. I've never been to India before then. I've watched movies that made me actually dream of coming to the United States. That America used Hollywood to create movies that made America as a dream that people want to see, the American dream. As a child in the United States, as a kid in Africa, that made me dream. And today, going into movies is a way for me to tell our stories, to share our beautiful stories. Our stories are very diverse in Africa. I believe we have a lot to share with the world. Our stories are diverse, as we have great stories that are some of them very funny, some of them sad, some of them very educative, some of them that are challenging for us. That they need to be discussed, they need to be shared, they need to be, you know, shared with the world, so they can have also a different view of who we are from our own way of telling the story. For example, Aisha is a movie of a young girl that I hope, writing this movie a few years ago and now being able to produce it, and it will be showing next month in the Cleveland Film Festival, to be able to propel a message and create a dialogue around dinner tables, around coffee tables, around offices, around family dinners, whatever it is in our communities, so people can really talk about this subject that sometimes we do not want to talk about in public. And that's what I'm hoping for this, because it's something that means a lot to me. It's about girls' protection, girls' access to education, and protecting our young girls so they can have also an opportunity like everybody else to succeed in our societies. And this is some of the stories that I've written. 12 movies so far that we're working to produce. We just produced two of them so far, and every year we're going to continue to share with the rest of the world what the best of Africa can give. And I'm excited to see all of these young people around me, working from cameras to assistant directors to people who are holding the lights, and people, actors and actresses and etc., creating so many opportunities for them to be able to share with the world the best of what we have. Not only to create movies, yes, for Africans, but to the world, for the world to see Africa from what I'm writing and what I'm hoping to for people to see.
Because we have Hollywood, we have Bollywood, we have Nollywood. Are we gonna name this one Sollywood?
Well, and I'm happy that we have Nigeria doing a very good job on this. In Senegal, we have also some amazing filmmakers that's coming out of my country. And I think that, it's like building our continent or building a country. We need everybody involved. And the cinema, the creative industry is too important to just not let few people to do it. I think we need many people to come to create, so we can, not only tell stories, but also, influence culture, influence perceptions and realities. Because the perceptions that we have of Africa in the United States, in many countries, most of them are false, but they was influenced by television. Most of those perceptions we think of who we are was put into television for kids to see it and to believe that Africa is that way. I remember a few years ago, back in 10 years ago, 12 years ago, my son was 4 years old, Elijah, and we are going for the first time to Senegal. The airplane is landing, and we're looking at the window. I'm excited. I'm telling him, I'm so excited you're coming home. This is your first time coming home to Senegal, your home country. And he's looking at the window, and when we're landing very close, he's telling me, "What? Where's the animals, Dad? I don't see any animals. Where's the animals?" I said, "Where's that come from?" He said, "Because we think that everywhere in Africa you're going to see animals." He was excited to see animals in Dakar. The whole time we're in Senegal, in Kaolack, in Dakar, he's asking me about the animals. I want to see, where's the animals? I had to take him to the zoo in Dakar because being a kid in the US, it was put onto TV for him to believe, influence his thinking that your father's home is a big, you know, zoo that everybody is walking around. And that we can also change through our storytelling, sharing the beautiful stories that we have from our own culture for the rest of the world. But also, you know, tackling our issues, dealing with some of our issues and finding ways with policymakers and leaders and etc. to figure out how can we shape policy so it can affect the quality of life of our people. For this example of Aisha, how can we protect more of our girls so they don't have to walk 4 miles, 8 miles to go to school and being exposed to all kinds of danger? How can we make sure that our young girls, instead of waking up in the morning at 6 to work all the way till 9, then to go to work, to go to school and come back to work, that they don't have child labor, so make sure that these girls have access to school, so they don't pull them out of school just because they're 14 or 13 to get them married. How we make sure that these issues are talked about, not only talked about, but finding solutions for this particular issues that we're dealing with, that every country has something that they're dealing with, and they've used movies to be able to share those things, and that's what we're trying to do with the movie industry, and with me coming into the cinema world.
What was the last movie you saw that really inspired you and why? Real quick.
I really like The Pursuit of Happiness by Will Smith and his son. It inspired me a lot because of the messages that was given to his son and to everybody that's watching, and his struggles try to make ends meet with his son, try to put a shelter and take care of his son with all the difficulties not having a job, and not being able to, put food on the table. And so at one point became homeless. But through that, he didn't give up, try to fight to the end for his son. And even when his son was doubting himself very young, he was able to remind him of a powerful message of there is nothing that you cannot do. And this is living reality for many people in my continent, in Africa, and many parts of the world. And those are the people that I'm talking to in all of my work, not only in cinema. Most of the people I am speaking to through my work, when I share things on social media, when I write books, or when I speaking international, when I build projects, whether it's in social entrepreneurship projects, as farming, as digital schools, as women centers, all those is to help create a better life and quality of life for people. How to show those folks who also who's thinking that there is no way out, that you too can do it. And that's why that movie speaks to me, because it reminded me of why I'm here. It reminded me of my mission. It reminded me of the core of why I'm alive is because of service, to create a better life for others through my speaking, through my actions, through my projects, and through my work. And this is the reason why that spoke to me. I watched it a very long time ago, and I still watch it every now and then to get inspired by it. And I hope that the movies I will be able to create will be able to give that kind of hope. It's interesting. There's a second movie we just finished. A young guy who her mother was working with me at the house in Sindhu at the village when I moved back home. His name is Dabah. He's my main actor for the second movie we just finished. That'll be released next year. And everybody who come from the US, usually my friends, December come to spend New Year with me in Sindhu at the village. Every time they come, they just look at him like, is this guy is an actor or he's a you know he's a model? And they always ask that question because he has this great features, very young, um, dropped out of school at the 10 years ago, old. He didn't go to school. Really, just working as a he was taking care of my dogs in the house. Um, so when I was doing the movie of immigration, this one I'm gonna come back to it later next year. That's my second movie. I told him I want you to act on this movie. He never acted before, but if you see what he's done, his life is already changed, and that changed my life. Seeing him becoming something he never thought he was able to do, and I already see that he's going to be a star. This kid here is going to be, he's already a star. And that is a part of what motivates me to these things that I'm trying to do. Like being able to see Aisha, that young girl, never acted. This was the first time. Amazing story. When I met her and they told me the story, it was so sad what she had to go through to be there. And I like, okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. And this movie changed her life and her mother's life. And being able to have all those young people also to have an opportunity, contribute and continue to contribute to the work that we know we have to do the time that we live.
Hmm. So now we want to know how was your experience as a producer? Because we know, I guess we've all seen behind the scene, and we know how tough it can be and how much time consuming it can be to produce a movie. So what were your challenges,
It was
basically?
interesting. These movies that I've been, the first one we produced, I've written this movie a couple of years ago, and I was waiting for the right opportunity to film it. And I've learned a lot in the process of putting it together with my team and all the people that was involved. The first thing was to the challenges of finding um, the right actors uh, that can act on what you've written, what you have in mind, what you want to direct, what you want to create. And that was a little challenging to find in the country. I had a lot of help with a lot of people that was I reached out to people that was very experienced in Senegal, that was in the film industry that I was watching for a long time to help me to do the casting first.
Mm.
And then the other thing that I've that struck me is the job creation, and I made it a point that when we starting to film, because we just finished two movies, both of them, to make sure that we bring in young actors, new actors that's never been had the chance actually to act. The main actors in both of my movies we just finished, they're all young people who never had an opportunity to act before. Some of them wanted to, but they didn't have the opportunity for to act, and it's giving them an opportunity to enter the cinema industry, but it's creating also jobs for a lot of people. There's another third point that I enjoyed about it is that the ability for cinema to create so many different jobs in just one film. Example, in Aisha, we had 72 people working in one film, and everybody was paid, everybody was taken. But it's just to see from people who are taking care of the lighting, people who are into cameras, those people who are editing, the people who are bringing food, the regie, people who are transporting actresses and actors who are transporting the materials. You got, camera people. You had all kinds of people who are bringing tea and coffee. Holding the mics, the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so many people involved. I was so shocked to see just in movies how much we can help create jobs in Africa. In just one movie, imagine that we have hundreds of movies being filmed in one country a year. How many creatives we can create in that space to create jobs and opportunities like young people.
What's your favorite part in being a producer, movie
Mhm.
producer?
My favorite part is to have something in my head that kept me for many nights not to sleep. For a long time, I thought about it, and being able to wake up some nights writing about it, and sitting on it for a couple of years and waiting for the right moment, and now to see it materialize. To see it, coming in for people to be what. that in which I was thinking about in my head, and I've put it down in writing, and was thinking that I wasn't ready for it yet. But now to see it when I first we done and I played the movie, to see that this is what I had in my head, and this is what I exactly I wanted to create. And many times in directing the movie, you can see where it was missing the links of not exactly what you wanted. I remember going back to refilm almost everything that we've done. We put in a lot of time and a lot of resources, but when the final product came in, I didn't like it. It's not what I envisioned. So I said, okay, we're gonna go back to refill some of those areas. And in the end, when I watched, and I was satisfied to see that this is exactly what I wanted, and I was pretty satisfied about, being able to touch what you've thought about.
I like it. So you're creative,
Mhm.
and you need things to be as clear in the outcome as it is in your head, in your mind, as you envision it. Okay. How do you plan to overcome the challenges related to film production in Africa? Because there are a lot, such as distribution,
Funding.
financing. Yeah. What are your thoughts about it?
There's a lot of challenges in the film industry in Africa. I think first problem we have is the funding issues, because filming is not like literature. Writing books is not as expensive as producing movies costs a lot of money. It costs, and for that, a lot of people cannot produce because of that access to funding. The second issue that we have is the fact that Africans don't still have that their own. Some countries are doing pretty well, as Nigeria, Senegal. Some enterprises are coming up. We're on the way, but we still have a lot of um, work to do when it comes to distribution, having access to distribution in a wider market. We're distributing in our own countries, in our diaspora. Thankfully for internet today, people can watch some of the work that they do, but I still think that we have a lot of work to do. We can create our own platform to the world to have access to them, but so then actors and filmmakers and producers can pay for their work. And this is one of the challenges that I want to tackle, to how to find um, solutions for those issues where funding is available for filmmakers, but also training for actors. I'm envisioning to launch a school, for example, for filmmaking, but also digital editing and videos, the behind the scene that we don't see, the creative industry behind the movies. We don't have enough schools in Africa that some of them are coming up, but we still have to educate more of our young people, because it's a huge industry that can create a lot of jobs for our communities, especially for young people. And the heartbeat of our issues today is job creation. I think the creative world, it can be um, a very important part to support job creation for our governments and for our communities. And these are some issues that I've seen myself creating movies, because I funded my own movies when I see it's very expensive, and a lot of people cannot do it because it is difficult for funding. And we're going to work to try to find solutions around those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know,
Hmm.
Mr. Chan Yang, producer, movie producer. I've also prepared questions so that we get to know you a little bit better as a human being.
Hmm.
And like I said, we've seen you in so many different areas. And now that you come out with a new art, because basically cinema is an art,
Hmm.
I think we also want to know who is behind this artist and this inspiring man that you are. I would like for you maybe to share a moment in your life when you had to overcome a major obstacle. What was the obstacle, and how did it influence your personal and professional journey? If you had to name one thing that define who you are today, because that thing was an obstacle, what would that be, and how did you do it?
I grew up in Kaolack, Senegal. It's a town in Senegal. Growing up in Kaolack, and between the challenges of watching my mother and um, dealing with getting married at a very young age with her teacher, and then um, going in a polygamy family, and dealing with everything that goes around that. Um, and with my grandfather, the other side, who was, um, you know, living a very difficult life of poverty and not being able to make the ends meet. Um, and that for him to instill in me that I have to basically change my mother's life. The responsibility of what needs to change the family was in my shoulders, very young.
Mm.
And being able to at that time watching my grandfather going through, being sick, not having food, and all those difficulties, and you know, that's that marked me onto, I guess, the man I became of service to the world today, to people I encounter around the world. Always in all of my projects is how to make life, quality of life, better for others.
Mm.
Because I've lived in very dark nights of, not being able to find food for 3 days with my grandfather, not having electricity in the house, and watching my mom challenging situations, in a polygamous family, and not, having a job, not sometimes not being able to take care of, her family, her kids, and 10 kids, and I have to watch all of those things. And I think that you know gave me the energy that I needed to go out there and fight for myself, but also for others. And that work never stops because I continue to recreate myself. I continue to regenerate more energy so I can bring more solutions to the things that bothers me in life. I went to writing, for example, because I was frustrated growing up to see that the story that was told to us in many ways in our schools back home, we were reading most of our literatures was coming from Europe, from other countries. And I said that we have few writers, but it's not enough. We need to write to tell our stories. And I started, instead of looking for somebody to do it, I started writing. And I never stopped doing that. So in farming, that's the same thing. In all of my projects, that's the same. So the same thing for cinema. To me, growing up watching those movies of other countries and try to understand the world through their ideas, through their lens, through their cameras, through their cultures, through their way of life that actually affected us without us seeing it. As a young African growing up, we became also American without knowing it by the way we dress, the way we think in so many ways, because of the films that affected us, and that also brought some frustration to me because to me, Africa also we have a lot to share with the world, and if we can switch that paradigm to also show to the world what we have, the best of what we have, even our challenges, like other countries are doing it, that can help also to show a better part of who we are to the rest of the world.
Mm.
And this is, I think, what got me into wanted to, you know, start this part of another chapter of my life. I would say
Mm.
I consider the film industry and the cinema industry, creative industry, to be a new chapter for me, a new challenging chapter that I like to. Many people tell me you have created so many different projects. Um, why don't you focus on one thing? And I always tell people, why do you have to focus on one thing? You have one life to live, and if you have one life to live, you have an opportunity to create so many lives in one life.
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to do to fulfill the blessing of life that I have from God as much as I can, to hope it will have an impact, positive impact to the world and to generations that will come that can shed light that there is nothing you cannot reach. Everything is possible to anybody who not only dream but want to put in the work to achieve those dreams. And then actually, to answer to your question, this is what got me into um, this artistic part of me, that I've been painting also for a while, but now to get into the cinema, this is the motivation of it.
Hmm. And then from that, I think that's a very it seemed like a random question or a question that a lot of people ask, but I'm I'm curious to know, like, what are your three main values, the values that actually guide your life?
Well, the first thing for me is about integrity.
Mm.
Integrity, I believe that from the values that I grew up, I was given that. And, honesty and hard work. Um, my family instilled on me very early that whatever you want, you can get, but you have to work for it. And being in America also taught me the value of hard work. That's why I never stopped working. To me, in Wolof, there is a great sheikh in Senegal. His name is Sheikh Ibra Fall. He said something in Wolof. He said that um, lépp lu góor boo liggéeyee loo bëgg da nga ko am boo jàngee loo gis da nga ko mën da nga ko xam, which means in Wolof, in English, that if you study, whatever you see, you will know. You will know, have knowledge. But if you work, whatever you want, you will have. You can buy what you want. You can get what you want. And he was stressing into the importance of hard work and believing in hard work. I think it's one of my values is to believe in hard work, integrity, honesty, to be able to be honest with people I deal with, the people I work with, because all of these creative things I'm doing to all of my projects, I do it around folks that believe in me and believe in the ideas that I have. And honesty, I think, is a great value to have. And lastly, is about belief. I have a deep belief in God and the mission I'm given to contribute in goodness in humanity. And that contribution is deeply rooted in the why I'm here. And I totally understand for many who worked hard to understand why they are here. And I've early on understood the why I am here. And that core is what guide everything that I do. Um, and what is that core is of service, to be able to be of service to not only to people but to humanity, to humankind, to nature, to everything that's been given to us. Is my way of being grateful. Is my gratitude part of me that I have to contribute positively um, to not only Africa, because from Africa we are intertwined to the world, to all of us together globally. It's an inspiring story that comes from Africa can also inspire other people around the world. We have watched movies in the US or other places in India and etc. that inspired, that changed my life. And I'm hoping that we too can inspire the world from um, our beautiful stories that we have to share with the world.
Yeah, speaking of,
Hmm.
I noted a question here, and I remember when I wrote that question because it's to me that's a good point because you inspire a lot of people. You're an inspiring character. You do so many things that are inspiring for not only the young generation, not only people in Africa, but people around the world and from all generation. But now we want to know, like I said, we want to know more about you, about yourself. So who are the experiences, the persons, the people, the movies, the songs, the artists that actually inspire you?
Well, for movies, I've been following for a long time. People like Denzel Washington, because of his ability to act in different parts, different ways, different stories. His ability to be able to adapt and and then live up to the character even beyond what the director was thinking about. And I really love his artistic part. Um, there's another person who really inspired me also, Tyler Perry. Not only I got the opportunity to meet Tyler Perry at his house, a few years ago in 2015, when President Obama was having a fundraising there, and he's been a great inspiration in the film industry because of his ability to and his story coming from nothing to where he's at today, and still remaining very humble to also go beyond what people expected. Usually in the US, when people are into movies, they move to LA. He tried it, it was difficult, and he started from the grassroots again, with the churches in the United States and showing some of his work, Medea and etc. And then stayed very consistent even through the difficulties when everybody doubted him. But being able to today switch the destination of cinema to many of us in the United States and the world also, from Hollywood to Atlanta, is a statement to one can do if you believe. What he's done with Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, it actually is a big inspiration to me,
Mm.
to be able to build these huge studios to produce movies for the world, from our own communities, from our own culture, from our own realities, our own ways of lives as African Americans in the United States. But now for people to see us in a different way not only we're telling stories, but we're controlling um, the production, controlling the writing, and controlling the studios and everything that goes beyond it. And this he's played a huge role. I think that's very inspiring, not only to me but for millions of uh, people around the world that's aspiring to get into the cinema world. So definitely, I was inspired by Tyler Perry for his ability and his work. Will Smith is a great inspiration as well. So for his acting abilities and his talent, and we also grew up watching him from the Prince of Bel Air to what he's doing today, and is extremely inspiring. Yeah, and when we talk about Africa, I was always intrigued by um, watching and reading about Usman Sembène, the father of African cinema, that happened to be from my country, somebody I admire a lot, that I look up to. I read a lot about him, and he's kind of the same thing. He wrote books, and then he thought that cinema it can be wider for him, rich, and then he started producing movies. The first film, sub-Saharan African film produced, directed by an African from sub-Saharan Africa is Sembène Ousmane. So I call him the father of African cinema. And he's a huge inspiration because I look at it like people like us, we have to continue the legacy that he's left for us. I think he had a great vision to what Africa cinema should look like and why we should be into cinema to tell our own stories and reflecting on his work and looking at what he was able to do at that time and at his own position with this means that he had not much is inspiring to me.
Okay, that's very good to know because you too get inspired somewhere. That's very interesting, and I've never heard about this father of African movie.
Hmm.
So I guess it's another resources that we should all check in.
Hmm.
Um, to continue with your own like personal character, how do you maintain your motivation and passion in the face of challenges and failures and ups and downs of life? Like, what do you do on a regular basis that keeps you focused, passionate as a person, basically?
Well, I've understood that life comes with both, and you've got to accept that. In pain we grow, but there would not be no pain if there was not be no joy if there was no pain. There wouldn't be no pain if there was no joy. I believe in life as a yin and yang. I believed it to be as the day of the night. Those are realities you can touch. Then you have to. I have just been managing to work on, you know, accepting and being in a position of gratitude all the time. And gratitude doesn't mean to me that I am just thankful when things are good, because even when things are difficult, there is great lessons to learn from there. I also have to be grateful. I have grown as a human being now to understand that part of life, that challenges and difficulties are also a part of life, and they bring us most of the time some of the great lessons that we need to learn. Um, because if it wasn't for them, growth wouldn't happen. As a farmer, I watch the land all the time, and I draw some of my greatest lessons today of life through farming. Um, you know, You see, you plant a seed and you water it. You do what you got to do. Sometimes you don't see it coming out. That doesn't mean it's not growing. It's growing sometimes from the bottom first. Why? Because it take root. The plant has to take root first before it grows out. And then when it comes out, what you see up, that's already has grown downstairs. So it's in that pain that the plant had to fight to get itself outside of the earth. That's what we're going through. We go through that pain to grow. So when I'm watching that in my farm every day, in farming, you are in between life and death. You're looking at every day through my animals, through my plants, through everything that surrounds you in nature. You observe life and see how it works. And if you observe life and you are very um, careful of what you see, you get life's greatest lessons through the teachings of farming. And so that basically to answer to the question, this is how I I live to accept with gratitude and to be always grateful, to be able to notice, to know, to be present of the blessings that comes around me, and how can I, in service, make sure that blessings is partagé, is given, is shared with
Mm-hmm.
what's around me, and not even those people who know me, who can see me, but if they see some of the work that I do, hopefully it can be an inspiration also to them. This is a sign of gratitude as well.
Attitude of gratitude. I
That's
get it. I
that's it.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta give us some advice on like what are the practices that you do? How do you live basically?
Mm-hmm.
What do you
I
do?
I
What are your practices, your habits that you've developed to really foster your personal growth, your professional growth, like on a daily basis? If you had to describe, let's say, your random day.
mm-hmm. Well, I I pray. I'm a believer. I pray every day to God for the blessings has been given to me. Um, I work out every day. I go to the gym to exercise. Why I do that is also a sign of gratitude to the blessed body that God has given me to me. When we take care of our body, of that we've been given to, when we eat the right things, when we don't put poison in our bodies, when we work out, to me personally, it's a sign of gratitude to God that this is a treasure that I was given to, so I have to take care of it. Because I've learned that whatever you mismanage, you lose. Whatever you don't take care of, you lose it. And when that I understood that very important lesson of life, that whatever you mismanage, you lose it, then the first thing I do is to make sure the greatest thing that God has given me first is my body, and I don't want to mismanage it. So the first thing I do is my body, my spirit, and my soul has to be taken care of first. And how I do it is when I wake up every day before I go to sleep, in every moment in the day where I have to come back present to myself in direct connection to God, to nourish my soul in my prayers, in my gratitude. The second is to take care of my physical body, and then the third is to make sure what I eat it also going to contribute in taking care of myself. In my spirit, other than that, also I have to read. I have to, feed my mind. Um, to me, the mind is like the muscle. You work it out, and you can see the muscles coming out. So if I go every day in TikTok, or on Instagram, or on Facebook and YouTube, and watch things that pollute my mind, I'm not contributing in the gratitude of what God has given me to take care of my mind. So I have to read more. I read every day. I watch things that I can learn from. I listen to people that inspires me, because YouTube is like a university today. You can have access to this education. So I do that every day, to make sure that I nourish also my mind. So this is my daily lives. And then other than that, I work on my projects with my team. I have a large team around the world. So every Monday, in the morning, I do a meeting with all of my CEOs. We do talks, and I can hear everybody their projects, what they're working on, where they're going, their objectives, and if I can add into encouraging them or supporting where they need support. I add that, and then continue on with the rest of the week with my work, with my writings, with my creatives, with my companies, in my nonprofits, in my work, traveling the world and speaking and doing the work I gotta do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would you say to your younger self? What would you say to Chun Yang that was 20 years old?
Well, if I had something to say to the Chonyang that was younger, 20 years old, I would say to observe more, um, and get more knowledge non-stop, continue to study, because I understand that knowledge economy is key, and be more of service to others, but to yourself first. Take care of yourself, and when you take care of yourself, you can take care of the rest of the people around you, your family, and then the rest of the world. This is what I will say, to be more grateful of what you got and to build from that foundation.
Okay.
Mm,
Now, random question. You can only pick one.
mm,
Okay. So you have options of two,
mm.
and you can only pick one.
Okay,
Farm or beach?
that's a tough one because
Go ahead.
I have a
Quick, quick.
farm and live
Farm
in the
or beach?
beach.
Just one, like the
You can't
first one
have
that comes.
both.
No, just pick. Is like you have to pick one right now.
The
Farm,
farm.
farm.
Hmm.
Um, U.S. or Senegal?
It's tough. I cannot choose that one. It's like you telling me the mother and the father. I cannot choose between the parents.
Okay, D.C., Washington, D.C., or Cleveland, Ohio?
That's another tough one because Cleveland is my town, but I love Washington because of what it gives, because of the work and everything. But Cleveland is what created me. I think if I had to live today, I would live probably in DC.
D.C.? Okay.
Mm, yeah.
Yassa or Chep?
Chebujan. No, no hesitation.
No hesitation on this one.
No
Okay.
hesitation.
Um, Work pants or shorts?
It depends where I'm at.
Pick one.
Work pants.
Okay.
Mm.
Barefoot or working shoes?
Working shoes, because you don't never know. You might have to go to a meeting. You don't want to show up with some working shoes and no shoes either.
Morning? Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm a morning person. I
Oh.
wake up very early. Yeah.
Uh, Running or lifting weight?
Lifting weight.
Mm, Popcorn or nuts?
Hmm. I love both of them. That's a tough one. Okay, I will guess it depends, but mm, that's
Nuts.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Netflix or movie theaters?
Netflix, because more convenient. You can lay on the couch and wear your pajamas and watch movies. You don't have to leave.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Mr. Chan Yang. And
pleasure.
I can't wait to watch and to see you develop and watch all of your movies. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for your work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.